at the end of 2012, I was nominated to the board. And unfortunately, a month later, my son was murdered. So I had to battle coming back from a forced retirement, the death of my son, and then dealing with the conflict and the turmoil of a management and union conflict. And the primary emotion I identified with, I was useless as a man because my body did not function the way it used to. There's a way out that life can then be regained and lived with a purpose again, but it requires to go within and stop being a victim of your circumstances.
Welcome to Responder Resilience. I'm David Dashinger, and we're excited to have with us today Rick Cheatham. He's the president of RK Consulting Group. He's also a retired captain from the Anaheim Fire Department and retired union president from Local 2899. And we're going to dive into Rising from the Ashes, the power of perspective. We're going to explore how the challenges faced by first responders shape not just their careers, but their very identities. So join us as we uncover some powerful truths where pain can be a catalyst for growth and transformation. The struggle you're in right now isn't here to break you, it's here to build you. We invite you to like and subscribe, YouTube Responder Resilience, Facebook Responder TV, LinkedIn, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and check out our website, respondertv.com, for past episodes and guest information. Our resource partner, FightCamp, is offering an exclusive deal for viewers of Responder Resilience. For a limited time, you can get an amazing free package valued at $238, which includes punch trackers, quick wraps, and a free 45-day membership trial. Don't miss out. Email us at info@respondertv.com with the subject line FightCamp to claim your free package today. This episode is made possible by the First Responder Center for Excellence. Discover more at firstrespondercenter.org and connect with us on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We'll be right back to speak with Rick after this.
In this family, more of us die by our own hands than by the hazards of the job.
In this family, up to a quarter of 911 telecommunicators have symptoms of post-traumatic stress.
In this family, our mental health and wellness are in crisis,
while responders are quietly suffering.
In this family, many struggle with job-related stress,
burnout,
moral injury,
sleep disruptions, substance abuse,
and relationship problems.
In this family, we can help the helpers
with vital information and resources,
resilient strategies,
and success stories of overcoming the obstacles.
In this family, no one is alone.
Welcome to Responder Resilience with co-hosts retired Lieutenant David Dashinger, Dr. Stacy Raymond, and Bonnie Rumley, LCSW EMTB.
I want to welcome Rick Cheatham to the show. I've had the opportunity to hang out a little bit with Rick in Nashville at the First Responder Center for Excellence Mental Wellness and Suicide Symposium. So, Rick, it's great to see you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's an honor.
I'm going to just read a little bit about you, your background, and then we'll dive into having a great conversation. Rick Cheatham is an inspiring life and career transformation coach with a rich history as a retired fire captain and also past union president in Anaheim, California. His journey is marked by profound personal challenges, including overcoming sexual addiction, the tragic loss of his oldest son, and a severe neck injury that required him to relearn how to walk just 5 months after retirement. These experiences have fueled his passion for resilience and personal growth. Rick's been married for nearly 4 decades to his wife, Kelly, and he exemplifies dedication to servant leadership and specializes in crisis management, empowering others to navigate life's toughest challenges with clarity and confidence. So, Rick, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
All right, so as I just said in your bio, you're a retired fire captain and past union president. You've had decades of experience on the job. How has your identity as a first responder shaped your perspective on life and relationships, both personally and professionally?
That's a good question. When you spend a career in the fire service as a first responder or any first responder type of career, you learn a lot about people. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that I can relate to who are struggling. And one of the things that I realized in my career is not only do we respond to a community of people who struggle with different types of adversities and challenges. But those struggles and those traumas that we deal with day to day have a profound impact on us as first responders. It's hard to move away from some of the stress that we feel when we're dealing with things like full arrests, the different traumas, the different fires, the different calls that we go on that are very traumatic. And we think that we're okay. We think that we're probably able to navigate this, but in time, those little things just keep adding up and they compound over years of service. And before you know it, it affects you pretty profoundly, usually in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I've learned about the whole process. It's really enlightened me to have a lot more empathy, having navigated that side of my life and now on retirement and dealing with all the issues that I had to deal with. It just gave me a real connection to people at a heart level.
Well, that's so important, and especially as a fire officer, supervisor, a leader. How was it for you as a fire captain to have people under your command or under your supervision who you were responsible for, right? And that's the kind of things it's the inwardly facing leadership that we have in the fire service. What was that like for you, and how did you find you were able to serve them with, say, compassion and to help them through their challenges?
When I became a firefighter, I was a little older in life, so I'd already started a career in construction. So I'd spent several years as a contractor, and felt like it wasn't what I really wanted to do. It wasn't really my purpose or my desire. It was just what I needed to do to fill in, because becoming a firefighter came with a list of credible background, if you will, and mine wasn't very credible. I had a lot of problems in my early years, overcoming sexual addiction. It nearly destroyed my wife. It nearly destroyed my family. 10 years into my marriage, my wife said she quit. She hated me, God, and the church, and she was done. And it started me down a road of self-discovery, self-awareness, and literally started me to put the pieces back together in my own life. Fortunately, I was able to do that before I became a firefighter. So I had already experienced the process of diving into myself and developing my interpersonal skills as not just a man, but as somebody who was out to provide value and service to other people. So when I became a firefighter, I used a lot of the tools that I had learned along that journey to pour into the people that I had the opportunity to serve. So for me, it became very evident. Once I promoted to captain, I did not want to be the type of supervisor that was fixated on just results. What I wanted to build people. I wanted to build my crew. I wanted to develop them as men so that they could become the men that they wanted to be, and more importantly, the husbands that they wanted to be in their own home. So for me, the value was personal relationship over results, because I realized that you can ask for results all you want, but anybody who's ever worked for a supervisor who put that as the priority on the list is making sure the results were completed the way they wanted it to, it allowed me a different opportunity. I would rather build them up as people and the results come naturally rather than have to force them. And I was very fortunate. My whole career, I had the greatest crews I could imagine. I had to manage anyone. All I had to do is show interest and pour into their lives as humans. And they produced the results because of the gratitude that they had that I was a supervisor who was really interested in them as a person.
Introducing FightCamp. Thousands of workouts led by expert trainers that meet you on your time. Live punch stats motivate you to push harder and help you map out your progress. Knockout achievements, or go head-to-head against other rivals from across the country or across the living room. Learn the basics and sharpen your skills over time through tailored paths. Join the biggest boxing community in the world without leaving your home. FightCamp.
Hey everyone, if you're looking to elevate your fitness journey, listen up. FightCamp is rolling out an incredible offer just for Responder Resilience listeners, an absolutely free package that includes punch crackers, quick wraps, and a 45-day membership trial valued at $238. This isn't just a workout, it's a way to track your progress in real time with advanced technology. You'll have access to over 3,000 on-demand workouts tailored for all fitness levels, so you'll never run out of options. Kickstart your fitness journey and follow these simple steps to get your free package. Just email us today at info@respondertv.com
with the subject line Fight Camp,
and we'll send you everything you need to sign up and claim your free offer. That's info@respondertv.com. I wanted to segue into a story that, I've heard you share with me and others pretty openly, and it's a really tragic story and one that if you're okay with it, can you share with us this significant experience you had with your son and how it impacted you and also how you worked through the emotional aftermath of that situation?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. It was... we were going through, our department was going through a rather difficult time. We'd hired a new chief from outside who came in and was more of, he was more of a disruptor than a unifier. He came in here with an agenda, and the agenda was to cut our resources, cut our budget, and follow through with city managers' desires to bring down the cost of doing business as a firefighter and the budgets that they had to deal with. Mm-hmm. And although I recognized at the time that I wanted to support this man, I found within a year his agenda and the direction he was going was more self-centered than anything else. And I decided I'm going to run for the board. So I ran for the board in 2012. At the end of 2012, I was nominated to the board. And unfortunately, a month later, my son was murdered. And I was able to take 4 months off from my obligation as a new board member to navigate the tragedy of our loss. And although I was dealing with the grief of my son, instead of pouring into that in a healthy way, I chose rather to pour into the work of union business and protecting our membership from what seemed to be at the time a hostile takeover, to put it bluntly. Mm-hmm. And within a year, our organization, our membership voted me to become the president of the union to lead them through that. So when you ask, tell me about what was going on with your son, there was so much that was going on at the time. I was forced into retirement by this chief with an injury that I sustained, knowing full well that the injury would soon heal, and there was no reason for me to force myself into retirement. So I had to battle coming back from a forced retirement, the death of my son, and then dealing with the conflict and the turmoil of a management and union conflict. So when I got the notice that my son had died, for the first 4 months, it really caused me to just reflect on my family. Mm-hmm. But as time went on, I started to bury all the emotion, all the pain, all the suffering that I was dealing with. And it started me down this road of being angry and bitter and resentful, not just towards, the fight that I was in as a union president. But it got to the place where life started to feel like it was unfair. How is it that, my son was the one that was murdered? It just felt like life was hitting me at different levels that caused me to become more stressed about life in general. Mm-hmm. And seeing the impact that my son's death had on me and my family started to take me down a road where I became very angry and bitter. And what I realized was that even though we suffered a tragedy, it was the remnant of the emotional pain that was left behind that was literally killing me from the inside out. The resentment that I was holding on to, the bitterness, the unforgiving spirit, mm-hmm. was a toxin that was riddling my body and destroying me emotionally. And I got to a place where I couldn't do that anymore. Hmm. And I know that many firefighters go through all kinds of different trials and struggles in their life. And a lot of it's job related. I know the stress and the impact that the job has on us. Mm-hmm. But even though we go through that stress and we go through that with the negative effects of it, there's a way out that life can then be regained and lived with a purpose again. But it requires to go within and stop being a victim of your circumstances. And that's what I found happened to me with the loss of my son. I became a victim very quickly, mm-hmm. a victim of another man's decision, a victim of another man's greed, a victim of another man's evil character. And it affected our family at a level that I've never experienced. And I became justified. Mm-hmm. So I know that there's many of us out there in the fire service that feel justified to have the trauma that we have in our lives because of what we deal with every day. PTSD, PTSI, PTS. We all struggle at some level with those types of issues. And it's easy to become victimized by it. And what I learned through my journey was the more that I focused on the adversity and the challenges as a victim, the more stuck I felt as a man and as a human. And the more I lost my bearing. And it became almost like a journey through my own wilderness, if you will, trying to find myself. And at the end of the day, what I recognized is the best way through this, the best way in a storm is through it rather than running from it. Just go through it, face it. And on the other side of that, I found so much more hope and resilience and found purpose that navigating life could easily become my pit, or it could become my pedestal. And I chose to climb out of the pit and become the pedestal for others to see that it is possible to navigate through your adversity, no matter what the challenge may be.
Thank you for sharing that. And you used the word chose because obviously there is choice in these matters, but you were dealing with incredible adversity on many different levels, many different fronts. So was there like a moment when you had a insight or, light bulb went off that kind of helped us switch the course of everything, the kind of victim identity and the darkness to kind of start to move towards a different sort of path?
During that period, I was so focused on my career and the job at hand as the union president of our membership. Mm-hmm. So I didn't focus a lot on that. I actually used my trauma. I used that as fuel mm-hmm. to have the courage to go up against some pretty daunting experiences. A captain as a union president dealing with a fire chief, there's that rank issue, but yet a lot of times we're in those positions, and those of us who have the less rank, we sometimes just go ahead and we cave into the ways and the wishes of the leadership. And I wasn't about to do that in this case. So it gave me the courage to just continue to fight. I didn't have the transformational moment until it was after I retired. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and 5 months into my retirement, I fell and broke my neck at C4 and 5 and was paralyzed from the chest down. It was through that process that got me to that stage of transformation. It was there that I lost my identity. It was there that I lost my purpose. It was there that I took my victim mentality to a level of feeling pity, feeling useless, feeling like I had lost my identity as a man.
As firefighters and first responders, we're brilliant at the basics. We master the art of stretching the line, and we excel at being there for those who need us most. Yet even the best of us can be caught off guard. We sometimes face unexpected challenges like injury, cancer, or post-traumatic stress symptoms. But you're not alone. The First Responder Center for Excellence is here to equip you with the tools and resources you need to stay informed and prepared. We help you focus on staying strong, safe, fit, and resilient. Optimize your performance with cutting-edge health, wellness, and science information, from fitness to nutrition, medical evaluations to behavioral health, cancer awareness to cardiac health. We've got you covered. Remember, we're stronger together. Discover more at firstrespondercenter.org and connect with us on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The First Responder Center for Excellence. Equip yourself with excellence for every call.
You've described this when you and I were talking. Can you paint us a picture of exactly what that was like? What life was like for you now that you're 5 months into retirement. Now you've had a catastrophic fracture of your spine. So where did that, physically, what were you doing, and how did that affect your ability to do this inward reflection that you're talking about?
My accident was having a syncopal episode on the way back from the restroom. And I fell face first, broke my neck, as I said, and spent the next 3 months in the hospital after they fused my neck. Was able to regain the ability to walk, but it took several months. In the process of that, my fire department, along with my wife, they set an environment for my healing while I was in the hospital. My wife created this environment that was because she was a nurse. She was an ICU nurse, so she understood that my environment, my mindset was going to be huge for me to be able to bounce back from this. I didn't know if I'd ever walk again. My department was sending people, my union, my membership, they had people flying out here. So the entire time I was in the hospital, I literally had union support, and I'm retired. They were here every day. I had people in my room, and I'm 2,000 miles away from California. And the love and support that I received from my wife and my brothers and sisters gave me so much inspiration to push and to ensure that I would walk out of there. And 3 months later, I walked out of that hospital with a hope and a dream that I would regain the function and use of my body again. It wasn't until everybody left and my wife went back to work that I was left by myself to reflect on this 10-year window that I had gone through, losing my son in my early 50s and breaking my neck in my late 50s. And that's when life started to become unfair. That's when I started to really look at life through the lens of, man, this sucks. I've spent my entire career, can count on one hand how many times I was injured and had to go on, IA for rehabilitation. It was just incredibly disheartening that now 5 months in, I had the expectation I was going to be enjoying my retirement, and now I can't do anything that I used to do. I can't work with my hands. I can't walk across the room without extreme difficulty. I couldn't run. I couldn't exercise. I could only do little minor things to try to get my head right, and it just wasn't working. So I became very, very angry and resentful for life. And at one point, literally contemplating ending it all. What's the purpose? It's just so unfair. I thought I did everything right. And yet here I am in my late 50s, looking at the rest of my life with this new normal. And I ended up meeting a man that, he helped me navigate it a little bit by asking me, what is it? Why do I feel like I'm useless? And I told him, I said, you don't understand. I mean, I don't have the use of my body like I once did. I was a fire captain. I was a USAR captain. I was a union president. I had all these identities that were surrounding me with a very active lifestyle. And now I can't do anything. Hell, I couldn't even wipe my own rear end. You talk about useless. I had to rely on other people to do the things that I knew I could do for myself one time. And just left me feeling like there was no hope. Left me feeling like there was no reason to live anymore. And my wife pulled me aside and said, I feel like you're giving up. I feel like you're giving up on life. And I was. And she said, Rick, I can't do this anymore. I mean, we'd been married, well over, 30 some odd years. And my wife is saying, if this is how it's going to end, I can't stay with you. I can't watch this. She says, you need to get some help. So I met this man, and his name's Nick Santanastasso. And as he started to work through this with me, he said, what is the primary identity? What's the primary emotion that you identify with right now? And the primary emotion I identified with, I was useless as a man because my body did not function the way it used to. Well, it was interesting. Nick asked me, he says, do you think I'm useless? Of course. I said, no, of course you're not. Well, the reason he asked that is because he said, you put a lot of validity in the use of your body mechanics. Well, Nick had no legs and one arm. And yet I was able to identify that he was of use. But here I am. I've got all my body. I can function. And I'm having this pity party. And that started me down the course of reigniting the spirit within to try to overcome and achieve my mind set in a way that would produce the results I needed. And so from Nick's first introduction, I started a deep dive into meditation, mind shifting, taking responsibility, stop being victimized, and become an instrument, become a light for others who go through the same types of traumas. And then put that information, put that experience in a way so that your firefighter family could then see that anything is possible if you have the right mindset. Now, coming from that union perspective, and at the time when we were looking for mental health advocates to help our brothers and sisters dealing with PTSD and PTSI, it was very important for me to then turn that back inward to where it all began and start helping firefighters who were struggling with their own demons and with their own experiences and their own pain and their own suffering, so that we don't have to bury any more to suicide, so that we don't have to deal anymore with the trauma that comes along with a broken home and the remnants of what that does to not only the couple in the marriage, but with their families.
Mm-hmm.
And use that as a tool to develop and inspire others to take the challenge of becoming the hero of their own story. Because once I realized that anything is possible with the right mindset, then it's all about putting the focus on the life you want. See, we don't get the life we want necessarily. We get the life we focus on. And we can confuse that real easy. We can say, this is the life I want. But in the meantime, we're still focusing on all the shit in the past, all the baggage that we come to the table with, all the calls, all the trauma, all the reality of being a victim of our careers, being a victim of not getting promoted when you should have been promoted, being a victim of suffering the pain and the trauma of adversity and challenges, and that stress that we feel as a result just starts unloading, that cortisol dump that we get addicted to over time. And so we live in this fight or flight system day in and day out. And by doing that, all it was doing to me was it was feeding the negative emotion, and I would then just keep creating it over and over and over. I could not get past ruminating on my past. And once I shifted gears to stop looking at the past and start looking to the future, where I could be of service, where I could be of value, where I could help others climb out of their own pit, I realized very soon that that was the answer. So in forgiving the man that murdered my son, forgiving myself for retiring and breaking my neck 5 months in, forgiving myself for living the life of a victim, forgiving myself for getting to the place where I just almost decided it was time to call it quits, it allowed me to have the fuel necessary to take this journey to the next level and helping our brothers and sisters who suffer in the same way.
Introducing FD Teas, the only gourmet tea crafted with first responders and their families in mind. Proudly firefighter and veteran-owned, our collection of gourmet organic teas is uniquely designed to honor those who are on the front lines to protect our communities. At FD Teas, we believe in quality. That's why we source the freshest organic tea available, offering you the most popular flavors that not only excite your taste buds, but also bring comfort and relaxation to your daily life. Indulge in our specialty blends: classic Earl Grey, soothing chamomile, vibrant green tea with ginger root, decadent chocolate salty caramel black tea, and robust Irish breakfast. FD Teas makes for a special and unique gift, perfect for any occasion or season. Taste the difference and show your appreciation for the rescuers in your life with FD Teas. Exclusively available on fdteas.com and in our Etsy store, Fire Department Prints.
I want to pick up on that thought about forgiveness, because that's a huge piece and something that many of us struggle with. We got the anger, the resentment, and then we have the need to forgive, but sometimes we don't know how to get there. How do we actually forgive ourselves? How do we forgive others we feel have, perpetrated transgressions against us? What worked for you in terms of finding forgiveness for yourself and for others?
What worked for me was I got tired of living with the poison that was destroying me and my family. Resentment is it's a source of a lot of pain. And justified resentment is even worse, because when you're justified to resent, that means you're justified to hold on to that pain and not let it go. And in my justification of resentment and anger and bitterness, I was looking at a man who murdered my son. And by anybody's account, I was justified to hold on to that. The problem with holding on to that is it's like holding on to the venom of a snake. The poison that riddles your body will destroy you if you don't get the help to remove that poison and that toxin from within. The snake does what a snake does. Once it bites, it's gone. And the snake that murdered my son, he's in prison for the rest of his life. And I was almost feeling like if I forgave him, it was letting him off the hook. In reality, it let me off the hook. So when I got to the place of recognizing I'm really no different than that man. I mean, before I became a firefighter, I nearly destroyed my wife's heart by cheating on her with a sexual addiction. And she got to the place where she hated me so much that she was really ready to walk out that door until I made a change. Looking back at it now, it was almost like you did that to her, and then this murderer did this to you. Can you find at least a common ground of realizing that, yeah, you didn't murder somebody's child, but you nearly murdered the heart of the woman that you said you loved more than life itself. You betrayed her at a level that nearly broke her. So when I connected the two, that, really in life, there's a lot of times when we look at life and we criticize and judge other people. But if we're really honest, we can find areas in our own life where we're just as guilty of hurting other people. Mm-hmm. So there's this concept that I learned, it's a spiritual concept that you got to take the beam out of your eye first before you can start helping those with the speck in their eyes. And so it caused me to go back and do a real deep dive into who I am, who I said I was, what I said I believed in. And I believed that I was a forgiving man. So if I was truly what I said I was, maybe I can learn to forgive the man that actually murdered my son. And once I did that, once I was able to put those two pieces together and forgive him, the resentment, the bitterness, the anger all just left. And it was almost immediately. I have my stepmother said, I don't know what you did to change, but there was this undertone of anger and bitterness that was always running through you. And now I see the old Rick back. And that's what it was like. It was like I finally got my life back. So for our audience today, I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what challenges you're faced with. I don't know your adversities, but I do know mine. And I know that they nearly put me in a place where I could never be of value to another person again until I forgave myself and the man who killed my son, but then forgive myself for taking this victim ride for so long that nearly destroyed my wife again. So forgiveness became the true nature of setting myself free. And what really motivated in the end was what I believe Jesus on the cross, when he looked out in the audience of those who were putting him to death, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's easy to forgive people when there's really no test behind it, but to forgive the unforgivable, that's where the rubber meets the road. And if we get to a place where that's impossible, it's okay. However, it's just going to weigh on you with resentment and bitterness, and your life will have an undertone of anger like my stepmom told me mine had, and it will affect every relationship that you enter into from here on out, even the relationship towards the person you love the most, your spouse and your children. They will suffer the most because you're not around. You're checked out. You're a victim. And when you're a victim, you have no control. And when you have no control, you have no way out. And so I offer a way out. I've been through that battleground. I've been through that battlefield. I know what it's like to have to forgive somebody that doesn't deserve your forgiveness. And I know what the outcome looks like. It's an outcome of peace. It's an outcome of joy. It's an outcome of happiness. It's an outcome of finding purpose. It's an outcome of finding value, not in the trial, but as a result of the trial. You learn these gold nuggets. And when we face adversity and we can find the gold nugget in the adversity, that's when we realize just how empowered we can become when we look for the gold in the adversity that's trying to take us down.
Well, thank you for all that and the powerful reframe on that, how to look at things, where there's a gift in the adversity and the challenge. And I want to get to what you're doing now to pay all this forward. But before I do, just curious, do you have like a daily practice that helps you stay grounded and focused and in the present moment? Sort of how do you kind of stay in that place of peace that you were describing?
Well, I start every morning with meditation. That for me is the foundation, and it's a non-negotiable. So every morning I start the day with a meditation. It could be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. It just depends. Some of them are guided meditations. Others are just quiet meditations. Working out. I got back into working out. I hired a personal trainer to get my physical body back into shape. And that's been very helpful. And of course, my spiritual connected to my Creator, being reconnected back to Him in a way that is meaningful. And mind shifting becomes a part of that meaningful meditation that I spend every morning. And then at night, I end my night with a quick meditation as well, just observing where it was in my day that I fell short and how I could be a better person tomorrow, better version of myself, and move forward from there. And it's not that I don't make the mistakes. It's not that I don't go back and think about the things of the past. It's just now I become much more aware of it, and I can stop myself. And then in the present moment, I can make a different decision.
I appreciate you sharing that. And you've been through quite a bit, and you've had quite an amazing career, both as a fire captain, but also as a union leader. How are you paying that all forward today? Like, what are you doing with your life that is sort of like giving you purpose and the opportunity to be of service to others?
We all go through darkness. We cannot escape the darkness that's out there. We are challenged by outside forces that lead us down a dark path. Some of us anesthetize that pain through addictions, through pushing away those we love the most. They end up in rehabs. They end up in marriage counseling. They end up in divorce court. They end up, child custody issues, and it's their darkness. And what I bring back now is I bring light to that darkness. I shine my light in the dark places of our brotherhood's trauma and their pain and their suffering as a guide, as one that brings hope, as one that can bring resilience, as one who can share how to navigate those dark corners of our life that we don't want to deal with. So it's turned me into a man who is, his priority is pouring back into our brotherhood for all that the brotherhood has done for me. It's time for me now to pour back into them as a light, as a guide, as a resource. And so I'm a transformational coach now. I'm a transformational marriage coach. I help people navigate their darkest hours. And in that process, I teach them how to mind shift past the bullshit and get into the reality of who they truly are. Every one of us, no exceptions, has a warrior inside. We wouldn't be in this profession if we didn't have that warrior in us. If we didn't have that desire to help, that desire to overcome, that desire to make a difference. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we lose our way and can't find the hero within ourselves. And so my purpose now and my program is designed to highlight the hero that's in every one of you and bring that hero to life and bring that hero to where it needs to be. And that's the same hero that put you in the career to begin with. And you started rescuing others in their trauma. It's time to become the hero of your trauma and find your way out. And that's not always easy, but with the right guide and the right light, it makes that transformation a journey of awakening to find your purpose. And I help men now find their purpose as a man, find their purpose as a husband, find their purpose as a leader, so that they become the true warriors that they were created to be in the first place.
I salute you for that. There's no higher calling than to be of service to your brothers and sisters as you are now. And I was just thinking as you were saying that, I collect the sound bites of each guest to kind of make an introduction when the show starts, just like the snippets that, the best of, kind of to get people, draw people into the episode. And you just unloaded so many amazing sound bites in what you just said, Rick. So I really want to just give you credit for not only an amazing journey that you've had and flipping it through that choice that you made, but also continuing to be of service to your brothers and your sisters in a way that is so profound and so important and so much needed. So having said that, where can people find you? Website, social media, books, anything like that?
My social media, probably the best way is just, I've got a website, it's rickcheatham.com. Mm-hmm. And in that you can get connected with my social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. And I just recently opened up a YouTube channel. It's a whole new venture for me. It's probably one of the most difficult things I'm learning how to navigate is YouTube. But anyway, I believe it's www.youtube at Ricky C AFD is, I believe, the URL. So it's whatever YouTube uses, and it's at Ricky C AFD, and Ricky C AFD stands for Ricky C, which is my name, mm-hmm. Rick Cheatham. And then the AFD is the department that I will forever be grateful for giving me the chance to be the man I am today. And that's Anaheim Fire Department. So it's Ricky C AFD.
And then are you doing anything else? I know we were talking about some of the other kinds of outreach you're doing. What else are you doing out there to keep spreading this information and your story?
I am a keynote speaker. So I'll be speaking at a conference in October up in Ohio, a First Responders Health and Wellness Conference. I coach men. I have a coaching business, so I work one-on-one with men. I work with group counseling as well, mm-hmm. with men, and I'm in the process of writing a book. I don't know when exactly that book's going to be completed, but I'm in the process of it.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. We'll look forward to seeing the book when it's done. And Rick, it's been a pleasure having all these conversations with you, and especially this one today. I want to, again, thank you and salute you for being so willing to share things that are difficult, I'm sure, to put out there in public. But I know that that it's going to impact people in such a positive way that you're bringing the light to perhaps someone else's darkness. So thank you so much for being here today. And just know that I appreciate you and look forward to speaking with you again.
Well, I thank you too, David. And I appreciate the work you're doing for our brothers, for our cause, for our family. It's so needed. We are so We are so stressed from the day-to-day activities of a firefighter, first responder, and what you do on this show is you bring that to you highlight that in a way that brings about results, and I appreciate what you're doing.
So remember, like and subscribe, YouTube, Responder Resilience, Facebook, Responder TV, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and go to our website, respondertv.com, for past episodes, guest information, and more. Till the next time, stay safe, be kind to yourself, take care.